crowd, a bunch of deplorables, it was like a Klan rally in Ohio, were honoring those on January 6th who attacked police officers, the domestic terrorists, many of them still in jail, and they were honoring them, and Trump was honoring them. This is how the speech started.
Please rise for the horribly and unfairly treated January 6th hostages.
You see the spirit from the hostages, and that's what they are, as hostages. They've been treated terribly. Unbelievable patriots, and they were unbelievable patriots and are.
So, yeah, if you attack a police officer, apparently according to Donald Trump and his MAGA clones, you're a great patriot. If you defecate on Nancy Pelosi's desk, if you destruction of property, and you break the law, somehow you're an incredible patriot. That's how the speech started. They were all honoring the January 6th protesters. So how does Mike Pence feel about that? Now, listen, Mike Pence is somebody that has very little credibility these days, but at least I give him just a little bit of credit for at least saying he's not going to support Donald Trump. He's not going to support Joe Biden, but at least he's not going to support Donald Trump. It's a little bit too little too late for Mike Pence, but Mike Pence was asked about this. Remember, many of those people in the crowd on January 6th that Donald Trump is calling patriots are the ones that were saying, hang Mike Pence. Here's his former vice president's response.
Well, I think it's very unfortunate at a time that there are American hostages being held in Gaza, that the president or any other leaders would refer to people that are moving through our justice system as hostages, and it's just unacceptable.
So that's what Mike Pence had to say. Rightfully so. He's correct. What do you make of the fact that it's not just Donald Trump, these people who make speeches like the Sarah Palins and the Ted Nugents and so many on the far right like the Vivek Ramaswamis that actually they're honoring those people that many would describe as domestic terrorists, some of whom are still in jail?
It's beyond disgraceful, Brian. And look, here's the deal on this. It's all based on a false premise. What do I mean? It's a false premise that what happened on January 6th is something that is noble, is something that was right, is something that was justified. It was absolutely not. January 6th should have never happened at all. It was all based on a lie that was perpetuated by Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, Josh Hawley, others on that day, right, that are, right now facing criticism and scrutiny when it came to what happened on that day. It's all BS. The whole day should have never even happened. Mm-hmm. And so this notion that those who have been convicted of crimes, right, and that, as you rightly pointed out, some are still serving jail time, others face penalties that is going to affect them the rest of their lives because of the decisions they made on January 6th. The idea that those people are in some way victims or are hostages or were wrongly done is so beyond the pale of ridiculous that these are the same people Donald Trump basically in his speeches trying to say that these people are patriots is directly opposite of what they're trying to portray Republicans are, and Donald Trump is. He is anything but a patriot or an American. Mm-hmm. He is someone who is anti-American. And he espouses to values that are opposite of what you would expect a patriot to be. So it's just, those of us, again, we keep going back to this over and over again, all right? The idea that those people are in some way, shape, or form victims or hostages is so not true, and it's all based on a lie that January 6th was a noble cause, which it wasn't.
Obviously, I agree with you. It's despicable. Yeah. That's the word that I would use, and that's how they start so many of these speeches with the Orange Man, is honoring domestic terrorists. Well, it's absurd, but let's get to the heart of the speech yesterday, right? And I have some strong opinions on it, but let me play you the clip. The term bloodbath. Now, obviously, there's Republicans that are interpreting it one way. There are Democrats that are interpreting it another. But I'm going to give you actual proof and reasons why I don't give Trump the benefit of the doubt. But before we get to it, this was the comment, and Trump was talking about the auto industry before making this comment. But I want you to listen to it very carefully because he doesn't say the auto industry it's going to be a bloodbath in the auto industry. He uses the term the country. Have a listen.
If I get elected, now if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it.
He didn't say it's going to be a bloodbath for the auto industry. He said it's going to be a bloodbath for the country. Now, there are Republicans out there that are making their excuses and backtracking like they always do. Alice Stewart was on CNN. She's a Republican strategist, and this is the excuse that she makes about the bloodbath comment.
I believe it. Look, you have to look at, there are two definitions, there are several definitions of bloodbath, but one of the definitions of the word bloodbath is a period of disastrous loss or reversal. That phrase is used all the time. We're talking about the economy or the stock market. That's the context I truly believe he was using in this case.
That's what Republicans want. They always want context. Let me repeat once again. Donald Trump didn't say it's going to be a bloodbath for the auto industry. No, he didn't say that. He said it's going to be a bloodbath for the country if he's not reelected. Now, Maria Cardona is a Democrat strategist. Here's her take on the bloodbath comment.
Of course I don't buy it. And what Alice is saying reflects every single kind of pretzel that Republicans are bending themselves into trying to dismiss it, spin it, or try to embrace it. But the fact of the matter is, Paula, Donald Trump has a history of this dark, violent, dangerous rhetoric. And we already saw the result of what happens when he uses that rhetoric. Because even though every single Republican that is asked is going to try to spin it and pretend that it really had nothing to do with a real bloodbath, his cult MAGA supporters and followers totally know exactly what he was telling them.
Now, if you don't believe Maria, I do. I believe everything she says. I know Chris does. I have a little bit of proof for you and a little bit of audio to prove what she is talking about. Do you remember, Chris, back in the heart of the pandemic when we were losing 4,000 to 5,000 people a day? Here's what Donald Trump had to say about possibly injecting yourself with disinfectant or Lysol. Have a listen to this.
Right, and then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning? Because you see it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number in the lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that.
Now, it didn't sound like anybody was laughing, right? It didn't sound like Donald Trump was joking when he talked about injecting yourself with disinfectant. Dr. Birx wasn't laughing. Nobody in the media was laughing. Donald Trump wasn't laughing. But the following day, Donald Trump said he was just joking. He said that. Did that sound like he was joking for you morons out there that made those excuses for him, including Donald Trump's surrogates, days after I had some of them on my show? Oh, he was just joking. How can you be such an idiot? He was not joking about that. Oh, but Brian, you're not giving it context. You don't need context. He was speaking seriously at a coronavirus press conference about injecting yourself with disinfectant, and people died because of it. There was no joking there. But you see, I gave you the context. Donald Trump has a history, and I'm going to play more comments, but that's just one example.
Well, let me give some context as well, too, when it comes to this. And let me respond to those comments that she made, the Republican person, the contributor that's
Alice
on CNN,
Stewart.
Alice Stewart, right? By the way, she's been much more moderate when it comes to her support of people like Donald Trump and the Republican Party. But that by the wayside. First of all, there's not multiple definitions of bloodbath, okay, when it's coming from Donald J. Trump. Donald Trump has used this kind of inflammatory language. He knows exactly what he's doing when he says this, okay? So all of you people out there that are trying to say, oh, yeah, there's all these multiple definitions of bloodbath and you're not thinking of the right one that he was talking about. Give me a break, okay? The average Joe, the average Jane in America out there, they hear Donald Trump say that. What does that do? That evokes that whole notion that has been brought up by right-wingers and Republicans of this idea, this BS, that there could be a civil war in America if Donald Trump loses in 2024. That whole thing. Let me finish, Brian. So here's the thing, right? That is not he meant exactly what he said, okay? This was not about the auto industry. It became about the country, and it was Donald Trump popping off and saying, if I lose, then the country is going to be a bloodbath in the country, because he's reverting back to all this Civil War BS and nonsense. All right, and the idea that Republicans are going to want to revolt if Donald Trump is not elected president. So that's what he's talking about, all right? Don't all you people out there that are trying to overthink it and say, "Oh no, he was just talking about the
I wanna
auto
give
industry
people a little
and what the
more-
auto industry is all about."
I want-
It's complete idiocy.
I agree. I
all
want
right?
to give people a little more context because
Yes.
these MAGAs want context. But let me just say this. If you ask Donald Trump right now, don't even mention the auto industry, and you just said, Mr. Former President, if you lose the election in November, do you think this country is going to go through a bloodbath? Of course he would say yes. So there's your answer right there. But let me, you MAGA morons out there, you clowns, you want some context? I'll give you some more context. Do you know who the Proud Boys are? Yes. They're a white right-wing extremist group. They are been labeled a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center with a violent agenda. They are misogynistic, Islamophobic, transphobic. This is what Donald Trump had to say when he was asked on a debate stage against Joe Biden if he would disavow the Proud Boys. This was his immediate response.
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by.
What's the context there? He's telling a hate group, a white supremacist hate group, an extremist far-right fringe group, to stand back and stand by. Would you like some more context? Sure. Do we remember when Donald Trump was running for president back in 2016 against Hillary Clinton, when he literally incited violence at one of his rallies and said he wanted to punch somebody in the face?
Honestly, I hate to see that. Here's a guy throwing punches, nasty as hell, screaming at everything else when we're talking. And he's walking out, and we're not allowed, the guards are very gentle with him. He's walking out like big high fives, smiling, laughing. Like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
Would you like, I'm sorry, right-wingers, would you like context to that? He just said at one of his rallies, quote, "I'd like to punch him in the face." Now, he's also taught, and by the way, Republicans were backtracking there as well. Oh, he didn't mean it. He was just joking in a WWE or WWF kind of way. He joked, he said he wanted to nuke a hurricane without a smile on his face, and then Republicans the next day said, oh, he didn't mean that. That was just a joke. Grab him by the P word. Now, I've been in plenty of locker rooms in my lifetime. I've heard men say some chauvinistic things about women. Sure. I've never heard a guy in a locker room talk like that, and I guarantee I've been in more locker rooms than Donald Trump has. I played 2 sports, scholarship, Division I at the college level. I've been in plenty of locker rooms. But again, the excuse from so many MAGA Republicans out there were, don't worry about it. It's just locker room talk. He didn't mean it. The January 6th excuses from all these MAGA Republicans out there, you still hear these excuses to this very day. They say BLM did it. They say Antifa did it. They say Nancy Pelosi and the FBI were responsible. The Capitol Police did it. Twitter did it. Or, it was during the transition, all Americans are to blame. It's a media hoax. The media is responsible for this. It never happens. Let's pardon everybody. That's what so many MAGA Republicans to this day still say about January 6th. And when people say, oh, go back and listen to the speech, Brian, you got to give it context. Let me tell you something. If this was the first time that Donald Trump said something that incited violence, or if this was the first time that he said something that was way over the line, I would give him the benefit of the doubt. But I'm not giving Donald Trump the benefit of the doubt because I've just given context. And for all of you idiots out there that want to say that Joe Biden's in the bunker, Joe Biden's the one with Alzheimer's, in his speech over the weekend, which you won't hear on Fox News, you won't hear on OAN, and you won't hear on Newsmax, Donald Trump made the case that somehow Joe Biden defeated Barack Obama. Have a listen. He just said this over the weekend.
State against Biden, in the largest margins ever. You know what was interesting? Joe Biden won against Barack Hussein Obama. Has anyone ever heard of him? Barack Hussein Obama.
Joe Biden won against Barack Hussein Obama. Now, I could play you many of other clips of stumblings and bumblings out there, and I could play you the horrible, despicable things he says about those that are coming into this country, legal or not. But the bottom line here is I'm not giving Donald Trump the benefit of the doubt. Was he talking about the auto industry before? Sure. So my question to all of you MAGA morons out there who wear the Donald Trump knee pads is, why didn't he say it'd be a bloodbath for the auto industry? He didn't say that. He said it would be a bloodbath, quote, for the country. So if you want to continue to make excuses for the liable rapist, right? I suppose he just accidentally got into that dressing room and he accidentally started to touch E. Jean Carroll with his hands. It was completely accident, or maybe George Soros told him to do it. I'm sure you can give context to that as well. With what he said about John McCain when he said he didn't respect him because he was captured. Oh, he didn't mean it. Brian, you got to give him context. Or we went after a Gold Star family. Or when he called our brave men and women in uniform suckers and losers. Brian, you got to give it context. Or when he was on a debate stage, and I don't defend Megyn Kelly, when he said blood coming out of her wherever. Oh, that's not what he meant. No, he wasn't going there. That's not what he meant. Or the 26 women that have accused Donald Trump of sexual assault or rape, including Donald Trump's ex-wife under oath in a deposition. Oh, no. They were all lying because Donald Trump has money. Oh, really? Well, he couldn't put up the $471 million. We know that. His attorneys are saying he doesn't have the money. He can't do it. Brian, you got to give context. That's just the way our justice system works. Brian, you just got to give Donald Trump context for the rape allegations and for the despicable things he says about women, about Gold Star families, about POWs. Just give him context. No, I'm not. I'm not going to give that person the benefit of the doubt, and you shouldn't either. But if you drink the Orange Man Kool-Aid and you look up to Cheeto Jesus like he's the next Messiah, he can say whatever the hell he wants. And just like Maria Cardona said, these Republicans that are curled up in their pretzels that try to come up with excuses. Oh, this is what he really was saying. Let's just give it some context. I'll give it some context. You want context? I'll give you context. Donald Trump is a despicable rapist. Donald Trump is a despicable human being. Donald Trump is a snake oil salesman who disrespects everybody and only cares about himself, and he is trying to scare you. And for some of you people that have very low IQs, it's obviously working. You buy your stupid MAGA hats, you buy your sneakers, you think it's working. You think he cares about you. Donald Trump only cares about one person, and that is Donald Trump. And when he says that there's going to be a bloodbath, he's not just talking about the auto industry. He said it himself, the whole country, because he's trying to scare you. Oh, boy. We better vote for Donald Trump because there's going to be a bloodbath. That's the context that you need to understand. I just gave you the context, and if you still don't understand it, you're a deplorable, and I can't help you.